If you think you've learned something throughout the day, you are in for a treat. Turn to the person next to you and say, we're in for a treat. Our next speaker, Kylie Bartlett, is better known these days as the web celeb. You like that? Web celeb. Kylie is a successful businesswoman, a published author, and a passionate, and I do mean passionate, public speaker who has trained, coached, and inspired thousands of businesses globally on how to become socially savvy. She has appeared on numerous Australian television and radio broadcasts, including The Today Show, 9 a.m. Show, 3MP, 2UB, appeared on many Australian newspapers and magazine publications throughout the country. The Sunday Herald Sun, Dynamic Business Magazine, Australian Banking and Finance Magazine, just to name a few. She is also my Facebook friend. She tells me, Eric, we're going to rock the house on Friday. And I was like, yes, we are. Ladies and gentlemen, please be on your feet, do some exercise, dance, pop your fingers, stop the floor. She's from Geelong. She's from the Geelong. She's in Melbourne. Give it up for my girl, Kylie Bartlett. Come on, put your hands together. Make some noise. Yeah.
I didn't even recognise myself. It was so good. Thank you, Eric. Oh, wow. I want to go and do that again. On a Friday afternoon to have a welcome like that, I'd like to say thank you very much. Thank you so very much for inviting me to be here. I know it's very hard on a Friday afternoon and that bar is calling you, and I'm sure there's other things that you could be doing with your time. One thing I do know about life is that you can make and lose and make money, but there's one thing you can't make more of, and that is time. And I want to acknowledge and thank you so very, very much for giving up your Friday night to be here now with us and with me. So in return, I'm here to give you a fantastic time. We're here for a good time, not necessarily a long time. I've got an hour. So it's my intent that you walk away feeling inspired, empowered, and informed about what social media can do for your business. I see some familiar faces out there, so thank you for hanging around. I want to thank Mel, where you are, Mel, and Rob for coming up and introducing yourself prior to my presentation, so I'm looking forward to continuing that conversation afterwards. So, who am I to be standing up here talking about social media? Let me give you a little bit of my background to put it into context, to demonstrate to you that if I can succeed and build a business on social media, so can you. So, for 15 years, my world was corporate. I've got an organisational psychology background, so I spent 15 years working in corporates, helping them with their culture, their leadership, their team dynamic, and generally getting their company to run more efficiently. Problem was, I don't know if any of you here worked for a corporate. Do any of you here wish you didn't work for a corporate? Okay, so I'm a corporate escapee. So for 15 years I went in and helped corporates with their culture. But the more I helped them, the more I felt like I was feeling sick, because it isn't easy to shift corporate culture in Australia. So in 2008, I had this burning desire to connect with small biz. 87% of the Australian economy is run by small business, and I decided it was my turn to get down and dirty with small business and actually help them make a difference, rather than going into corporate and having to wait 10 years to see any positive impact change. So I sold my business in 2008. Now, I didn't have any idea what I was going to do. Now, remember, I'm a corporate princess, completely offline, and didn't, in my wildest dreams, think that I would be specialising in social media, unless I'd had a breakdown and I'd been kidnapped by some aliens. So here's what happened. So I sell up in 2008. Now, as an entrepreneur, I've owned many businesses. I've come out of the hospitality industry as well. So I decided I've got all this cash in the bank after selling a business of building it for 10 years. I'm going to go on a learning sabbatical. And I went to the good old USA. So I thought, I'll go to the USA, maybe I'll see a franchise opportunity. I'd owned a couple of Nando's stores, and I thought, you know, maybe I'll find an opportunity in America where I can bring it back to Australia, and that's what I'm going to do. But when I landed in America, the entire country is Wi-Fi. Now, Eric will tell us about this. Everywhere you go in America, everything's Wi-Fi. So as a part of your rates, you get access to fast broadband. So the minute that that happens, the game completely changes. So I've gone and studied with some pretty amazing business people in America, and all they kept saying is the internet and social media is where it's at. And I said, what, if you're 12? You know, like, as if someone like me, a corporate diva, is ever going to stoop to social media. Anyway, one guy said to me, get over yourself, you're arrogant and you're ignorant. Come around to my house and I want to show you where the world is going. And if after that meeting you still think that the internet is not the future, then I'll respect you. So I go over to his house, this beautiful big cinema room, and he sits me down and he goes, okay, what is your favourite movie? And I said, I thought we were talking about a business opportunity. He said, no, you will see it will unfold before your eyes. I said, oh, I don't know. I'm absolutely a shopping tragic, so one of my favourite movies is Sex and the City. Yes? Okay. So he goes, well, hang on, let me see if I can find it. He was pretending to look through his DVD rack, but what he did was he got out this remote control and he flicked a few things and up came Sex and the City. And he said, now make yourself comfortable and grab the remote control. And I've gone, yeah, I've seen the movie 20 times. He said, no, you haven't seen it like this. So I sat down and here's Sarah Jessica Parker walking down the street with this amazing Prada bag hanging off her shoulder. And he said, grab the remote control and intuitively start to use it. So I pick it up and I hit her bag with the remote control. The movie paused. Ladies, you're going to go ooh, ah when I say this. The movie paused and up came all of these online stores that sold that Prada bag. It told me all the ratings and what everyone was saying about them, and I could buy the handbag and take the movie off hold and continue to watch it. Yes, you could buy the fridge, the shoes, the dress, the apartment, the car. It was product placement on steroids. Now, the minute that I saw that, and I still to this day, I get goosebumps because what I recognised is that the world has changed. No longer do we as consumers get up and go, oh, I wonder what I'll buy today. The product and service finds us. And I knew that if I could master it with my background in psychology and start to teach people the psychological phenomena that's occurring with social media as opposed to the technology, that I could be onto a winner. So I pretty much spent 12 months in the US in 2008. In 2009, I came back here and thought, oh, well, I'll give it a crack. I'll run a little workshop and see how I go. And that was in 2009. And now I spend my entire life travelling the world teaching small business people how to become web famous, both at a personal brand as well as with their business. Now, if I am not connected to the internet and social media 24/7, I'm like having hyperventilation attacks. So for me, I'm going to tell you my story of how I did it and how now 100% of my income is derived through my social networks that incidentally I take offline and meet in real life. So that's a little bit about my story. So if a corporate diva like me can get over myself and recognise that this is where it's at, I'm hoping by the end of my presentation you too will be able to see the power of social media and the impact that it's going to have in our lives moving forward. So if you'd like to ask me some questions today, I've got my laptop up here, and as you know, the hashtag on Twitter is hashtag 21CBES. If you look up at the web celeb on Twitter, that's my Twitter hashtag. By all means, tweet me some questions. I've got my laptop here, and at the end of the presentation, I'll allow about 10 minutes, and I'll run through my Twitter feed and answer any questions that you might have. I thought that was probably the most efficient way of doing it. And plus, it would be really stupid of me not to be using social media to interact with you. So I'd like you to have a think back to the late 1800s when this piece of apparatus was first developed and created. Now, for those of you that are really, really young and don't even know what that is the, that is the first microphone. So back in the 1800s, this microphone was developed. Now, like we see in our current world, all of a sudden, people came out of the woodwork, were going, hear ye, you too can make £30 from using a microphone. And all of these manufacturers went out there and jumped on this new form of communication and started learning how they could sell a way for the world to be able to communicate with each other. But here's the interesting thing. Back in the 1800s, it wasn't the manufacturers of the microphones that actually made the money. The people that made the money were the people that were teaching the world to sing. Okay? It's nothing to do with the apparatus or the piece of technology or the microphone. It's actually all about when you pick that microphone up, are you singing the tune that your audience wants to hear, or are you sounding like you're in a bit of a karaoke bar? So today I look at All of these thousands of platforms in social media, we know them as Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube and Pinterest, and the list goes on. What I'd like you to think of them like, they are just microphones. Every one of us has the ability to go up and stand on it and pick it up and start bellowing out a message. But if there's one thing I'd like you to think about today is I'd like you to learn how to sing. Because anyone can pick up and do a status update and a hashtag and upload a photo. It's got nothing to do with that. It's actually got to do with what you're singing and connecting and communicating with the community. And that's what I'm hoping to be able to teach you today, is to teach you to sing. I'm not going to even bother to explain to you about the technology and even what your hashtag is. You'll learn that yourself. You're smart people. What it is that you need to learn is the psychology, not the technology behind social media. And here is today's microphone. Given that I've got a psychological background, a psychology background, I can't help but analyse everything. So when I was in America and I was learning all about the internet and social media and connected TV and how everything is going online, there was one model that really got my attention, one particular business, and I don't know if you've heard of this business, it's called eBay. Have any of you heard of eBay? Have any of you purchased off eBay? I got this dress from the US last week on eBay. So let me tell you about eBay for those of you that haven't been introduced to it. What happens is you go to eBay and let's say you want to buy a pair of Nike runners, and let's say they're Nike Air, so you type in Nike Air, and up comes all of the vendors on eBay that are selling those runners, and next to it are the prices, and then next to the prices are the feedbacks, the scores and the ranking that the consumers are saying about that vendor. So here's what we do at an unconscious level. We go, vendor 1 is selling Nike Air at $300, but their feedback score is only 60%. As opposed to vendor 2, who's selling them for $325, but he's got 100% positive feedback. So here's what we do as consumers. We make a decision, a buying decision, based on the opinion of strangers. So we go, you know what? For 25 extra bucks, I'm going to buy from vendor B or vendor 2 because they've got 100% positive feedback. Now think about this. What we do is we go, okay, we're going to put $325 into a stranger's bank account and we're going to say, you know what, ship us the goods when you're ready. And I made my buying decision on the opinion of a stranger. Can you see that if we went to a bank manager 20 or 30 years ago and said, look, I've got this business idea. I want to work in the garage at home. I want to have an online store. I'm going to sell products, ship it later, and my whole business is going to be based on strangers' opinions and recommendations. Your bank manager would have told you to go home and take a tablet and lay down. But eBay turned over $64 billion last year. So what I'd like you to think about is that the world has changed from me as a business owner telling you what to buy and you go on my word, to now we're going, yeah, I know, Kylie, but no disrespect, you've got a biased reason as to why you want me to buy those runners from you. I'm going to go to a more qualified audience and I'm going to ask the consumer what they think of you. So now the consumer is controlling your brand like never, ever before. When Australia upgrades its broadband, and it's coming, they tell me, they've been saying that for a while. But when it does, get ready. Because in Australia, our game is about to change as well. And I reckon we're about 12 months away. And here's what's going to happen. Let's say you're sitting at home and you're watching, and one of my favourite shows at the moment is The X Factor, because I am just a frustrated rock star who can't sing who became a speaker. So I watch The X Factor. So here's what's going to happen. When you sit down on a Monday night to watch The X Factor, the ads that come up in your room are going to be different to what comes up in Mel's room, that's going to come up in Daniel's room, because the ads that come up in between the breaks are going to be based on what you've been searching for on Google, Yahoo and Bing. So my advice to you is be very, very careful what you're searching on. Because you're going to be sitting at home and those ads are going to come right back at you. See, what's going to happen is televisions are very smart now. They're even called smart TVs, and they're connected to the web. So Google are not silly. What they've done is that they've got your IP address. This is what Flybuys did 20 years ago when they gave us all points for shopping. All they were doing is tracking our buying behaviour. So now that you've all got an IP address, whatever you're searching on, Google are now going to bring that up on your ads at home, because at the moment, what do we all do when an ad comes on? go to the toilet, put the kettle on, chat to our partner, go to sleep, whatever it might be. We're fast-forwarding through ads. But I bet you won't fast-forward through them if they're actually giving you the ads that you've been searching for in the first place. So this is what's about to happen. Now, can you appreciate that if your business, your product, your service is not showing up on those ad breaks, that in the consumer's mind, you don't exist? So it's about which side of history do you want to sit on. You know, it took 20 years for the television to be considered mainstream. We're now in a world where social media is moving so quickly that it's not going to take 20 years. Social media has been around for about 8 to 10 years. I reckon in Australia we've got a window of about 12 months. Now, where do you want to be sitting? Do you want to be a nomad or a swagman online where you've got no online real estate? My advice is start grabbing some online real estate now so that you can claim your stake and put a stake in the ground and be known for something. It is all about to change. And I'm sure you're seeing your televisions now with the way that it's all being web streamed. See, Google are a little bit scared at the moment. They're scared because social media is becoming a social engine, where we're going over to social media and we're now asking, what should we buy? Where should we shop? Where should we eat? What bank should we go to? Whereas Google provides us with search results, social media provides us with commentary. But here's what's happening. Google are upgrading their algorithms at the moment, and you'll see by Christmas, that's when they're predicting, that when you go in and type what you're looking for, not only will the search results come up, but indexed next to the search results will be all the commentary being said in social media about those search results. So now, if you're good in business, it's going to help you with social media, but if you're bad in business, it's just going to amplify it. So in other words, you could get on the front page of Google for all the wrong reasons, for what people are saying negatively about you online. So it's about managing your reputation as much as growing your reputation as well. So let me bring it back locally for you in Australia. So the biggest of all of them is Facebook in Australia. So at the moment we're sitting at 11.6 million users on Facebook. Now, if you look at, we're a population of what, 23 million? If you take away the infants and the elderly, it doesn't really leave us with many left, and about 11.6 million are on there. So if that's where the eyeballs are, can you see that that's where the opportunities are as well? Incidentally, the biggest growth on Facebook is the 35 to 55-year-old woman. They're the biggest users, and everyone says, really? And I go, well, there's no other demographics left. They were the last ones. That now Oprah isn't there anymore. They're going to the coffee shops and sitting there with their iPads in the pram and jumping on Facebook. I just read today that 12 million people are on YouTube as well. So, you know, some amazing statistics. They're saying also, I'm just trying to think of mobile phones. They reckon that by 2015, that 85% of the world will be connected through a phone, through an iPad, through a desktop. So if that's the way the world wants us to go, well, who are we to argue with it? I've got over myself as I'm getting older and going, stop being so arrogant about how you want to do business. It's about listening to how the world wants you to do business, and the world is screaming out that they want us to do business online. By 2013, we are going to have 25% of the consumers in Australia made up of under 30-year-olds. 25% will be under 30. You start taking them offline and using traditional ways of doing business, and they'll just walk away. They want to be connected. We have now got a complete factory in our pocket. You think about it. We can run our entire business on an iPhone. I read another article last week on the average age of someone's digital footprint is by 2. By the age of 2, a child has a digital footprint. I'd go as far to say they actually have got one before they're born, because mums are putting up the ultrasound pictures. So it's interesting to show. You see little kids, they're going up to televisions and they're going like this and swiping them. But they don't understand why the page doesn't turn. They are just born digital. And it's our job, if we want to make money in business, to start to understand how their world is versus how we've always done it. If you have a look at the way that the world has evolved, I believe that had social media been born back in the 1940s and 50s, it would have taken off a lot quicker than it has in the last 10 years. And here's my reason why. I believe back in the 40s and 50s, there was a real sense of community. Do any of you remember, if you're old enough, or even your parents, that you'd move into a neighbourhood and it was within 24 hours, Mavis was knocking on that door and she had the scones and jam and cream and she was inviting you over to meet the neighbours, and all the kids, they played in the street, they'd be on their scooters and falling over and jumping up trees together. You'd go down to the butcher and Bob the butcher would give you a piece of straz for the kids and a bone for the dog, and the postman was your social media. He or she knew everything. And then all of a sudden what happened was our generation, the Gen Xers, come along and said, oh, that's far too inefficient, far too organic and bespoke. We've got to automate everything. Let's bring our children inside, let's cocoon them, and let's give them something far safer than playing in the streets. We'll give them a PlayStation and we'll shove them in their bedroom and they'll be okay. And then we got told to press 1 for this and 2 for that, and we become very automated. And then these creatures known as Generation Y were born, and they said, I don't want to work in a world that's just on autopilot. I actually want to know what you stand for. I want to know what it is, what kind of impact are you having in the world, what are your values, what's your vision, what's your mission, and if I don't agree with it, I'm actually not going to buy from you, I'm not even going to work for you, I'm going to go start up my own company. So these Gen Ys have really, they've kind of put a spoke in the wheel and said, we don't want to do business the cookie cutter way. We want to make sure that we're global citizens and we're all impacting positively on the world. So if any of you had issues with Generation Y, like they challenge you, don't complain about them, because I bet you some of them in here, they're your children. You told them that the world was their oyster and they could have everything, and so they've just gone out and done what you told them to do. I love Gen Y because they teach us a whole lot more than we would have known without the social world and how to connect and have a social conscience. So here's some statistics around what's happening online every 60 seconds. There's 695,000 searches every 60 seconds. The statistic that I'd like you to take note of is that every 60 seconds, 13,000 apps are downloaded. 13,000 apps. My prediction, within 5 years, we will not have websites. They will be dead. We'll be having apps. Because everyone wants everything real quick now. They don't want to have to go through pages and pages in a website. They want to know who are you, why are you, and how do I get in contact with you. And an app will start to take over websites. Some other interesting statistics. We've got, you look at some of these 13,000 hours of music, 600 new videos are uploaded on YouTube. I think YouTube is the most underutilised social media platform of all of them. It was the one that put me on the map. I decided in 2009, again, being the frustrated rock star, that I was going to launch myself by running a video on YouTube for 15 minutes every Thursday night at 7 o'clock for a whole 30 weeks. Didn't miss a week. And that's how I built my reputation through YouTube. So I believe if you can get over yourself and put yourself out on video, you can start to have your own media channel, and you don't have to go to the big boys and pay a huge amount of money to get on one of their shows. You can create your own. But that's another conversation. So let me just get my slides working here, if my little clicker's going to work. Hello. Batteries. Aha. You are who Google says you are. Whether you believe it's right or wrong, you are who Google says you are. Have any of you ever Googled your name? Come on, I know you have. What comes up? Do you see some things that you go, where did that come from? Who was saying that? But at the end of the day, the uneducated or the strangers, the people who don't know you, they're going to believe what Google says. If you Google my name, there's 1.3 million pages that tell you who I am. If when people put your business name in or your name in Google and you don't show up, they don't know that you exist. It's important to make sure that you are visible. Now, the good thing about social media is it's free and it's easy to get onto, and the bad thing about social media is it's free and it's easy to get onto. It can be a little bit like Where's Wally? So the key to social media is having a strategy. Going on there and just banging away on the keyboard and putting up pictures of what you had for lunch and taking the dog down the street, if it's not aligned to a strategy, you'll achieve nothing. You'll spend a whole lot of time on there turning your wheels and not getting off the block. You would never build a home without a set of architectural plans, and so my advice to you is to get strategic around, well, what are you hoping to achieve? What is your target audience wanting? And what platforms are you going to use to get closer to that target audience? Now, Google came up with a term that they called the 0 moment of truth. Now, before the internet, there was the first moment of truth where, okay, I see a stimulus, I see an item on a shelf, I pick it up, I take it to the register, I take it home, and the second moment of truth is when I decide whether it's a good or bad product. Now what happens is that there's a zero moment of truth, and what that means is I now have a stimulus. I want to buy a bottle of water. Before I even get to the counter, I can pick up my phone or my iPad and start reading reviews, watching videos, connecting with people on Facebook and Twitter and asking their opinion on what I should be purchasing. Now, within a couple of seconds, people will go, no, don't buy that water. Some third world person was in lots of trouble from having to well for that water. Put it down, go and buy one from Thank You Water where they donate all the money back to charity. So can you see how all of a sudden there's all this conversation that's occurring before you even get to the register? So your job is to make sure that you're showing up in those search results so that people feel really excited about buying your product and service. Today, a movie can flop within 24 hours because people are sitting in a movie and they're actually tweeting that was garbage or that was amazing. So your whole life is being played out in a very, very transparent and online vulnerable way. You want to make sure that you're showing up in those results. Google has just come out with Google Images where you can now pick up any item, try this at home, go to Google Images, pick up an item in your images gallery and drag it and drop it into the search browser. It will scan the image and it will tell you what it is, tell you where else you can buy it. You can go into shops now and literally pick up your phone with an app and scan items and it'll say, no, don't buy that. 500 metres down the road at Bunnings, you can buy it for 25% cheaper. So can you see with this zero moment of truth, there's this sabotage happening between the stimulus and you going and buying it. There's a term out there now called ROBO, and what it stands for is research online but buy offline. Now, have you all heard there's this thing called the GFC going on? Yeah, you've all heard this term? In a lot of ways, people are buying into this GFC and they're abdicating responsibility for the growth of their business. They're going, it's not my fault that my business is going under, it's the GFC's fault. Now, I'd like to break this myth with you, in particular in Australia, around online retail. In 2011, up to the end of 2011, $213 billion was the retail sales figure, $213 billion. How much of that do you think went online? How much of that $213 billion do you think was online sales? Throw me a figure. 30%. Who said 30%? 30%? Any other takers? 60? 15? How would you like to know that it was 4.9%? Of that 4.9%, 3/4 of it was domestic online. So people saying that it's tough because everyone's buying online is actually garbage. What's happening is that when people search for you and you don't show up online, they can't go and buy from you offline because they don't even know you exist. Can you see the difference there? So all these people are saying, oh, it's not my fault, I'm closing down, it's because of the online world. It's less than a couple of percent. Now, that will increase as more businesses start to open up online, but really, looking at the figures in 2011, the problem is it's because people are buying offline, but if you weren't there in the online results, you don't exist. You need to be where the eyeballs are and then have a strategy to take them into your offline bricks and mortar business. People are creatures of habit. Most people buy within 15 kilometres of where they live. Did you know that? Research will tell us that people are shopping within 15 kilometres of where they live. But they're actually searching for you where they're sitting in their home or in their car or in their lounge room. Now, Google is also so sophisticated that if you pick up your phone and you type in computer or restaurant or shoes or whatever you want to buy, it knows where you're located based on your IP address. So what Google is doing, it's bringing you up now search results within 15 kilometres of where you're standing. So it's trying to make the search results so relevant to what you need in order to compete with social media that just gives it to you with what you want. Does that make sense? So your job is to make sure that when people are searching for your restaurant, for your insurance, for your financial services products, that you are showing up so they can come and talk to you in the offline world. Customers are your new marketers and you need to empower them. I'd like you to think of every one of your customers now as a paid sales rep. Your role is to turn your customers into advocates and evangelists for your business and your brand. No one will sell your business better than your customers, because we've become far more astute, far more educated thanks to the internet, and we're now not going to believe you anymore. Sorry, but you have a vested interest in telling us what we should buy from you. What we're now doing is we're turning to the consumer and saying, well, how did you find that experience? So if we know that our customers are now sales reps, what are you doing to equip them with virtual brochures, virtual position statements, virtual gifts, gratitude, giving them the best service possible to turn them into advocates so they're selling your product and service on your behalf? We've moved, I believe, from a world of B2B, business to business, and B2C, business to consumer, to a world of consumer to consumer, where now the consumer is telling another consumer to buy from you. I get a lot of people come to me and go, Kylie, look, I'm in a B2B business. I don't think social media is for me. And I'm like, you're in a relationship to relationship. Stop putting targets on people's heads and saying, oh, I don't talk to you because I'm B2B, B2C. Because in the offline world, don't you sit around a table, have a beer with a mate, you're just having a conversation and building a relationship. It's not about talk to the hand, you're in a B2B world, I don't deal in it. People refer mates to mates. And that's what's happening online. It's got nothing to do with what you do in business. It's about, are you a nice woman or a nice bloke? And if you are, what do you do and how can I refer work your way? So let me give you a true, real example of this happening to me. And I did this exercise so I could use these statistics in my presentation. So on the 28th of June this year, I was flying up to Sydney to do a presentation and realised I had no business cards left. Uh-oh. So I went, help. I need to get some business cards printed in a hurry, but every website I go to online seems all too hard and ambiguous. Can someone please tell me where I can go to place an online order where I can be assured of getting great quality business cards in return? Now, this is what happened, and I don't want to bore you with the 84 comments that I got within 24 hours, but here's a couple of them. Is your artwork ready? I go to CMYK online. I go to Same Day Printing. I go to Vista. Someone goes in Auckland. I go to Galaxy, I go to Prius, I go to Salt, I go to Snap. Now it goes on and on, there's 84 of them. But that's not the powerful bit. When I sat down and analysed those 84 people trying to help me out with business cards, guess how many of them were printers? None. Not one of them was a printer saying, I'll do them for you. When I analysed them, 84 of them were my Facebook community bragging and recommending the printer that they got their cards from. Can you see the power in that? That had nothing to do with a business searching Facebook for an opportunity to print business cards. If you do this right, your name will come up with that's where you go and buy product and service from. Now, I ended up, how's this for service? I ended up buying from one of them who not only printed them, but she had a friend going on a plane to Sydney. She asked if she could put them in the luggage, and then the lady, her friend, came and dropped them off. I was speaking at NIDA in Sydney, and they came and dropped them off for me. Through Facebook connections, never met this lady. She said, I'll help you out. So my Facebook friend, who I'd never met, printed them, gave them to another Facebook friend who then met me and gave them to me in Sydney. That's the power, this is real stuff, of when you've got a good brand, people want to go out there and help you. They want to build your brand for you, with you. Small is now big business. What I love about getting out of corporate is that those big old white elephant corporates where they'd have a meeting about a status update, us little nimble small business are out there making it happen. I think small is the new big business. We're nimble, we can make decisions, we can be decisive. We can be small, global, local, working at a global level. We don't need big infrastructure anymore to be able to, I believe, punch above our weight and match it with those big boys in the top end of town. Small is new big business, and here's some examples to show you. This lady, you may never have heard of her, but 671 million people on YouTube have. Her name is Michelle Fan. She's a girl in her early 20s, and how she started out was that she started putting makeup on YouTube and showing women how to apply makeup. So everyone started loving what she was doing for free. Remember, YouTube is free, and so no one was paying to get these results. But now, Maybelline, NATO, MAC, Napoleon are throwing her makeup and saying, we'll now pay you $50,000 to promote our mascara. No, we'll do better. We'll pay you $100,000 to use our lipstick. So now what she's managed to do, she's built a platform, because when you've got eyeballs, that's when you can start to leverage and make money. Now have a think about this. We go and put an ad in the paper and they charge us sometimes $20,000, $30,000 for a big full-page ad. Now why do we pay that much? Do you know why? Because they can prove to us that there's readership, correct? So they will go, there's 500,000 people reading the Herald Sun, therefore we're giving you access to potentially 500,000. In other words, you're renting a crowd and you're going to pay in the back pocket for renting a crowd. So my response is, well, why would you go rent a crowd now when you can create your own? You can now create your own crowd that's not rented, that you don't need to spend those kind of money, that you start to build a brand and you're driving the eyeballs. That's why Michelle Phan's making so much, because she's now built a community that is now people want access to. I want you to write this down. Content plus community creates your currency. Content plus community creates your currency. Michelle Phan has content. It's how to put makeup on. She combines it with a community of 670 million views and 830,000 Facebook fans, and the currency happens. But what people are doing in social media is they're going, buy my stuff, look at this, I've got a steak knife, Demtel, and people are going, we're not interested because you're trying to create currency without giving us content and allow us to be a part of your community. I think the biggest story of this is Instagram. The boys started 2 years ago. They got $250,000 in seed funding to start up this little app called Instagram, where all of a sudden us amateurs can become professional photographers, and we upload photos, and I love it because I can blur myself out when I've been out late and looking a bit daggy. So we change all the photos and people are liking it and loving it. So guess what happens? There's 100 million people on Instagram. What's that? That's the community combined with the content, which is photos, and we'll just go and sell it for a lazy $1 billion to Facebook in March this year. Do you need any more evidence that you get some content, combine it with a community? I guarantee you your currency will happen. Don't try and create currency without having the other two first. Now, have any of you heard of this guy? Now, he was famous in Korea for 10 years before he was found on YouTube. Now he's just got a Guinness Book Record certificate to say he's the most watched video in the world. He's just tipped 1 billion views. 1 billion views. And this all happened thanks to YouTube. Before that, in Korea, 10 years it was taking him to get noticed. And the last one is this dude called Philip DeFranco. Now, he runs this show called Philip DeFranco TV. Have you seen it? Of course you would. You're young. You love him. He's cool. But look, he's had close to 1 billion views on YouTube, and all he does is he's just like this dude, not saying a great deal, and people love it. And now he sells product placement space all over his show. People are throwing money at him saying, can you interview me? I'll give you 100 grand. Can you see how you can become a media outlet just like the big boys that are charging us? What cracks me up is I see people spending $30,000, $40,000 on a billboard over the Westgate or over coming in from Tullamarine Freeway, these big billboards, and I ring up and I go, how much do you want for it? And they go, 30 grand for the month. And I go, are you serious? I don't know about you, but I'm driving along and everyone's got their head in their crutch. They're looking on their iPhone. They're not looking on your billboard. So supply and demand has changed. I still believe that there is a place for traditional media, don't get me wrong, but not 30,000 a month. Try 3,000 because the demand's gone down. You know, it's interesting. Don't get me started on all that. Okay, so why have I put a picture up of the Wizard of Oz? Now more than ever, you have to be transparent in what you're doing. If you are remarkable, it will be amplified in social media. If you are shonky and dodgy, it will be amplified in social media. You can't hide anymore, like Dorothy found out when she pulled back the curtain and found out that the old Wizard of Oz was just this grumpy old man bellowing away, puffing out smoke. And that's what will happen to you. So my advice is, if you're not kind of kosher and you've got a few shonky things going on, clean up your backyard or you will be exposed like this gentleman here. Have any of you remember Ben Pollis's case a couple of months ago? He was the head of Energy Watch. And Energy Watch was a big sponsor of the Melbourne Football Club, and they were turning over tens of millions of dollars, had a team of 60, and then one reporter decided to go check out what he was saying on his personal profile page on Facebook, and here's just one of them. Like, it makes my skin crawl, but you can't see up the back. Here's one comment he made publicly on his personal wall. Asian girls add no value to society apart from insurance premium because they can't drive. And after you go back to their house, you can take their bike and ride home. Anyone for rice, I said, eggs, dig, dong, wong. Like, it goes on. It gets worse and worse. Now, what I'd like you to appreciate with me showing you this is don't ever assume anymore that your personal brand and your business brand are separated. Online, there is no line. Whatever you do in your personal life, people are going to assume you do in business. Now, this guy said, how dare you go to my personal page? It's got nothing to do with what I do in business. And the world said it has everything to do because you've just given us an insight into your character, mate. And so within months, the company's gone into voluntary liquidation, 60 staff have laid off, and he now lives in America, all because of what was happening on his social media page. You would have seen these two guys that got pictures of guns in a gun shop. I mean, I don't know why you would go in there and not get a picture taken, but anyway, apparently that's wrong. You're not allowed to do that. And they were about to be kicked off the swimming team. Now, the only reason they weren't is that there wasn't a social media policy or guideline that they signed up to when they decided to become a part of the team, or they would have been kicked off. You saw Stephanie Rice a couple of years ago. She tweeted something derogatory and she lost her Sun Rice sponsorship. So the reason I'm showing you these cases, you can't hide anymore. And so what you're doing in your personal life on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn is going to be assumed how you do business as well. So just be mindful of that, managing your online reputation. Now, sorry all you sales and marketing people in the room, but you ruin everything. Sales and marketing people, I know it's a big statement. I'll buy you a drink afterwards, get all over it. The reason why I say sales and marketing people ruin everything is, can any of you remember back to when email first came out? I know most of you are little young'uns, but it was about, what, 15 odd years ago, 20 years ago? Yeah? You got it. That's it, DOS and all of that. Yeah. So what used to happen, for those of you that don't know, is like when I got email, I'm like, this got to be a catch. They're going to charge for it one day. And you know how you used to do dial-up and I'd go, make all these funny noises. So I'd be sitting there banging out all these emails thinking this is eventually going to end. Someone's going to charge it for us. And I used to love getting up in the morning, and they even did a movie, Ding Dong, Who's Got Mail? And I couldn't wait to hear that sound. Can I get a show of hands now who loves to get up in the morning and read their emails? A few of you. Are you in sales? And Facebook, it's different. That's not email. The reason why now a lot of us don't want to get up and read our email, it's because it's full of spam. Buy my stuff, read my stuff, get my stuff, stuff. And so what the young ones did, they go, rack off. We're going to go create this thing called social media where we're going to block you out and have nothing to do with you because we want you to serve first, sell second. So the reason why people are getting social media wrong is that the sales and marketing people are rolling up their sleeves, they're licking their lips and they're going, oh, leads and sales. No, not anymore. The world has changed. What are you giving to us? How are you going to contribute to our world? How are you going to make our life better? And we'll be pounding down your virtual walls to buy from you. But stop acting like an 18-year-old dude taking a girl out on the first date. You know, you buy her a drink at the bar and you go, come on, love, let's go home. And we're like, no, guys, it doesn't work like that. Court us. We want chocolates and roses. So this is what you've got to do. You've got to wind it back. You know, start to schmooze. I've got a product called How to Flirt and Convert on Facebook, and it's written on this. It's learning to flirt, engage, build a relationship, and then people will ask, how can they purchase from you? Cold call. Oh, who likes cold calling? I'd rather clean a dunny, I've got to be honest with you. And you can tell when I'm told to cold call because I'm doing my filing, which I hate second to cold calling. It's my ego. I can't stand the thought of picking up a phone and ringing someone and interrupting them. So I do the whole, I know it's probably a really, really bad time. Yes, yeah, okay, when would you like me to call back? And they've said, haven't said anything yet. I hate it. The reason why we hate cold call is it's called interruption marketing. It's tally spamming. But if you speak to people in cold calling, here's what they say. Oh, it's a numbers game. If you ring 100 people, you'll probably get 20 appointments. It's a numbers game. And I've gone, yeah, but what about the 80 people you pissed off? Does no one care about them? So I think it's a 70s, 80s way of doing business where you're actually interrupting people. We've moved into a world that I'm calling now permission marketing. Seth Godin came up with this term. It's called permission. Bless you. And nearly again. Permission marketing is about where you're now asking for permission to pick up the phone or have a meeting. And what I love about social media is I never have to do another cold call again, because I build relationships online, have a virtual cup of tea, have a little natter, and then I ask them, how can we take this offline and strengthen and deepen the relationship? And when you meet them in real life, it's just an extension of the conversation that's already occurred. You see, the mind does not understand the difference between fact or fiction. So when the mind is experiencing love and kindness and generosity and a real gratitude for someone, it doesn't know if it was virtual or real. So can you appreciate that when you're hanging out with someone on Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn and you get that nice sensation, just because it was virtual, your mind doesn't know that it was, it just knows that it felt good. So that when you meet them in real life, all that legwork that you'd put in online is still in stock when you meet them. So can you see that the actual starting of a sale to when you close it is a lot shorter because you've already been relating to them in an online way. I've spoken in stages all around the world with people that I meet as I go on the stage. In fact, there's a couple in this room who we've never met in real life, but we gave each other a kiss when we saw each other and we walked in the door because we know each other online. Weird, hey? Who would have thought this corporate diva would have been doing that kind of stuff? So here's my 10 key takeaways for you. And the first one is that accept that it's happening whether you like it or not. Which side of history do you guys want to be on? Because I can tell you now, if you don't jump and grab that virtual online real estate, you will become a swagman. Join it with traditional media, not instead of. So don't throw traditional media out. But if you're going to put an ad in the paper, don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. If you're going to do a radio campaign, integrate social media into your traditional media. Don't write cheques with social media that your business can't cash. So what do I mean by that? Don't get people all juiced up and aroused and excited about what you do in a social media space, but then they go looking for you on your website or in your business and they can't find a way to buy from you. So again, make sure you've got a rock-solid foundation with your product and service so that when you do take it to market, it's a nice, beautiful transition into a funnel into your business. Don't get them excited and you've got nothing to sell them. Get your strategy in place first. Open and transparency. Think WikiLeaks. Look at Ben Polis. Look at what's been happening with the swimmers. You know, make sure that everything is open and transparent. Clean up your backyard. Have a publisher mindset, not a marketer. How can you create how-to products, education, tips, strategies? Here's even a big, bold statement. I'm going to ask you to give away your biggest prized piece of knowledge. Give it away. Have an abundance mentality and give away your IP. Because here's what I know about humans. The more you give them for nothing, the more they want you to do it for them. The personal training industry would have gone out of business. We can all go on YouTube and see how to do a stomach crunch or a sit-up or a push-up, but we all go hire personal trainers to keep us accountable. One of my beautiful clients, have any of you heard of the 4 Ingredients ladies? I started with them a couple of years ago. They're now a global brand where they've written, I don't know, it's about 40 cookbooks on how to cook with 4 ingredients or less. Now, we set them up with a YouTube channel. And I said, okay, Kim, every recipe in your book, we're going to put on YouTube for 2 or 3 minutes and we're going to create a playlist of every recipe that you've ever written. And she said, Kylie, we can't do that. My cookbook sales will go down. I go, it's counterintuitive. The more you give people, the more they want you to do it for them. So we recorded every one of her recipes in YouTube. Her cookbooks went through the roof. Because when they watched it, they wanted the cookbook. You watch it at home, Better Homes and Gardens. They're teaching us how to plant a plant and then they've got Fast Eddie cooking up a meal. Do not think that what they're selling is going through the roof because people are tactile creatures. They want to touch and feel it as much as they're learning about it online. So give away your prized possessions. If it's remarkable, people will come and ask you to pay to work with you anyway. Don't ask what, that's a tactic. Ask why. You need to have a strategy. Have that strong foundation in place so that when you go online, it starts to work for you. You're not just turning your wheels. You are who Google says you are. Whether it's right or wrong, that's what we believe. Content plus community creates your currency. If that's one thing I'd like you to think about. What content can you be putting online in the form of ebooks, videos, articles, white papers, podcasts that creates great content that a community combines to, and you'll create your currency. Your consumers want you right here, right now. Think the 0 moment of truth. Make sure you're showing up in those search results when people are searching for product and service that you provide. And as I said, claim your online real estate before someone else does. What I've got today is I haven't really got anything up my sleeves. I don't do this sell package stuff. I don't think you can in social media. It's a lot harder because it's about strategy and it's about making sure that it's right for the individual. But what I have brought along is a couple of things. I've got my DVD program, which is called How to Flirt and Convert on Facebook. It's a 3-hour home study program. It's not me at an event like this. It's actually me on camera going, here's the theory, here's me doing it on Facebook, pause, pick up your 50-page workbook and start making it real for your business. My advice to you is start with one platform and do it bloody well, then doing all of them average. There's a heap of platforms out there and people go, oh, I need to jump on Pinterest and Instagram. And I'm going, you know what, just jump on one of them and do it really well. And once you understand the psychology, then pick it up and do Twitter and LinkedIn. But again, it's about where your target audience is. So I've got a DVD program. It does go for 3 hours. It's a home study program. What I've also got is a book that I'm a part of a program called The Key Person of Influence, where I teach profiling. I teach how to build your brand with social media. And I'm also throwing in a 1-hour consultation with one of my gorgeous social media consultants, Sasha, who's up the back of the room. If you want to give us a wave, Sasha. So Sasha is one of my team members. The reason why I'm putting a social media consultant with the DVD is a lot of questions are going to come up. Facebook changes every 5 minutes, so Sasha's also going to be there to answer any questions that may be different on Facebook since the DVD came out. And it's only $19.97. No, it's not. It's actually $100. And the reason why it's $100 is it sells on my website for $247, but I've only got a couple left in stock and I'm doing a reprint, so I'm doing a big fire sale at $100. So if you're interested in the DVD, the book, and an hour of Sasha's time, then by all means come and see us out on the next break. So what I'd like you to have a think about is this. Which career do you want? This one? Or this one? Now, she mightn't be the prettiest lady, but boy, can she sing. So I'm really hoping that after today that you recognise it's not about being, those of you who don't even know who that is, it's Milli Vanilli, and they were miming, okay, for the young ones. So I'm asking you, please don't mime, please don't learn the technology. Susan Boyle, she's not the prettiest lady, but boy, can she bellow a great song, and she's made millions as a result of understanding how to sing. My message to you and my advice to you is please understand the psychology and learn how to sing. My name is Kylie Bartlett and I want to thank you so very, very much for your time today. To stay here on a Friday night and to listen to me, I'm really grateful. I'm just going to go over to Twitter and see if any of you have been sending me any questions on Twitter, or have you been too mesmerised by the presentation too? Is there any questions coming up there? A lot of you are retweeting my comments, which is fantastic. Okay. You got a question? Oh yeah, if you go to YouTube and you type in Socialnomics, and Eric Qualman, his name is, it's E-R-I-K Qualman, Q-U-A-L-M-A-N. Q-U-A-L-M-A-N. Now, Eric Qualman is a brilliant man. He's written a book called Socialnomics. You can get it on Amazon, but be careful because you'll go to checkout and then they'll say this and this person bought that one and you'll end up buying more. It's how it works. But it's a brilliant book. It was one of the best books that I started reading when I got into this space. Is there any other questions that I can answer before I let you have a break?
What's your opinion if you Google your own name and it comes up with the wrong information?
There is a site that you can, there's actually a company now that's come up with a piece of technology that will go and clean it all up for you. So you can contact them and they will change it and get rid of the caching and create a new profile for you so that all your traffic goes across there. But you're right, because some of us have very similar names, and so it's about establishing a brand with a, that's why I've gone Kylie Bartlett, the web celeb, because there is, believe it or not, another Kylie Bartlett, and she lives in Townsville. So I knew that for me to grab my traffic, I had to put a tag on it. So that's why it's Kylie Bartlett, the web celeb. So yes, if you want to send me a Facebook message or tweet me and I'll give you the name of the company if you know someone who needs it cleaned up. And there's a guy that does it, sets up a new profile and drives the traffic away from the old profile address. Does that answer your question?